I'm Daniel Montgomery here for our Meet the Experts Writers Guild nominees panel with Sharon Horgan from Bad Sisters, Jen Statsky from Hacks, Dan Erickson from Severance, Antonio Campos from The Staircase, and Al Yankovic from Weird, the Al Yankovic Story. I thought I'd start by asking a little about process. Do you have any habits or rituals that put you in an ideal creative space for writing? Let's start with Jen.
I mean, in a writer's room, not as much. I think for me personally, like when I'm off on draft and writing by myself, I do write in bed because I need maximum comfort because it's really scary and I don't like it. So that some people think that's strange, but I'm a bed writer only, pretty much.
I'm a bed writer.
Okay, cool. Yeah, good. See, it works. It works.
Dan?
I'm an occasional bed writer. I dabble, but for the most part, I'm like a coffee shop writer or sometimes a bar writer, which is less healthy. But I sort of need the noise, like the when it's too quiet, it's like the weight of all my insecurities starts to really rear its head. So I mean, I think I'm that obnoxious guy who's always like on final draft at a coffee shop, and I think Family Guy did a bit about that. Like, oh, if no one's watching you write, are you even a writer? But it's more about the noise for me, I like to think.
I used to do that. I wrote a lot in cafes and bars when I was making Divorce, but I think I just didn't. I was on my own, and also it's great for making you not open mail online or Twitter because people are watching, and so. But yeah,
I can't watch YouTube because it's too noisy, and that's actually a big help.
Antonio?
I'm not a bed writer. I was going to say bed writer, but I'm not a bed writer. When I've done it, it's always been like, oh, this is nice, I should do this more. But I end up, no, I like having my be in my space. I tend to over organize everything around my desk for as long as possible before I actually start writing. But the thing that always has been really important to me is running. Like running to me is kind of a key to just getting my head clear. And when I'm stuck, when I run and I listen to music, it triggers something. It opens me up in a way. And I've had a lot of, I think, my best ideas running. And so for me, running and writing are kind of, they go together.
Al?
I can write whenever or wherever I need to, but I think my best ideas, my most productive time is the middle of the night, like right before I fall asleep. Like even if I'm drowsy, something about the way my brain works in that state, I don't know, but I come up with my most bizarre ideas and some of my best ideas. In fact, for many years, I would keep a notepad by my bed, and now a laptop by my bed, because I'd be like just drifting off, and all of a sudden, oh, that's really funny, I got to write that down. And I've tried before where I think, oh, I'll remember it in the morning, and that never works. So as soon as I have an idea, I make sure it's documented somewhere.
I feel like that's become the Notes app for me. I feel like the Notes app is this thing that now has become a key to my writing process. I just fill that thing up with endless amounts of notes and then try to organize it.
Mm-hmm. I'll text stuff to myself too, which is why I should just use notes, but I'll text stuff to myself.
One time I was on my phone, I was checking my voicemail, and I got a voicemail, and in the message, it was this person just telling me their ideas and what I had to do. And I was like, who is this asshole telling me this? And I realized, oh, it's me. I called myself.
That's a Fight Club twist.
Yeah, so that is Fight Club.
Sharon, you mentioned you're a bed writer. Is there anything else that puts you in that writing headspace?
No, I don't know. I don't know how to get in a writing headspace. I start very early in the morning. I drop my kid off and then I just start. That seems to work for me. I think my process changed a lot over the years. I kind of write really quick first drafts now and then just send them to anyone who'll read them, and just like kind of get it down and ask those smart people how to make it better. That's my process.
And television is such a collaborative medium overall. How much do you like that collaborative process with other writers and a writer's room compared to, situations where you've, been writing solo? Antonio?
With this project, it was really key because I'd been with The Staircase on my own, going crazy for a very long time, and so it was great to watch other people become obsessed with it, and it sort of like poison everybody else in the room and sort of become their sort of the thing they can't stop thinking about. So I really enjoyed that space, and I for the most part been doing sort of partnering and co-writing stuff, and most recently I just started to write something on my own again with just me by myself in a room. And I started to enjoy that process. I think I was scared of that for a while, and now I feel like I can jump between the sort of co-writing situation with one person, the sort of big group writer's room thing, and then being on my own. But it took me a while to get there.
Dan?
Yeah, I mean, it's scary. It's scary. It's really vulnerable. Like I had been working on Severance for a while on my own, and sort of breaking the season a little bit on my own before we actually got the writers' room together. And it is like, and I've worked with such brilliant, funny, interesting people with great ideas, but it's like, you'll be in the room and somebody will say, it's like, well, what if Helly said this? And I'm like, no, that's like you get defensive, like it's your child or something. And it is, there's also a little bit of an element of like, to me, it's easier to like be off on my own, just in my own head, and let the ideas come as they will, as opposed to there's almost a performative element to being like in a writer's room where it's like everyone's trying to come up with something, and we know that we have to leave by 5, so you're trying to do it quickly. So it's hard, and I would be lying if I said I always love it, because it's like, it is just vulnerable and a little scary, but that's also where so many of the best ideas come from. So you take the difficult part of it with the beneficial part.
Sharon?
You say Jen? You say Jen? Oh, Sharon.
Sharon.
Who'd you say?
Sharon. Sharon.
I really like it, but I'm the same. I'm when I'm in a writer's room, I'm so grateful for everyone's brains and time, and we do it less over here, so it's even more of a, I'm even more astounded that it works, because it's sort of, well, relatively new over here. But then I also feel like, sometimes I just want to bust out there and just go and do it. Like sometimes I kind of just want to, take it all and run off. And I really just like writing in my bed, and you can't do that when you're in a writing room. But like when I'd write with Rob, it was just the best, because it was the tiniest writer's room of all time. It was me and him and our writer's assistant, and that was the greatest. I never wanted to sort of jump out of that.
Jen?
Yeah, I mean, I think everything everyone's saying, I agree with it. It's this kind of interesting process where sometimes it's incredibly helpful to have a bunch of brains around you, and then other times you just need to like narrow in. And on Hacks, we have 3 showrunners, so kind of the same as Sharon was saying with her and Rob. Like Paul Lucci and I, like sometimes we just need to go off and figure it out and do it, and then other times, the room is so helpful. And it's interesting. I've kind of had every version of it. I've been in rooms of like 14 people for one show, which is crazy, and then our room for Hacks is like 7 or 8 people. So it's really interesting the different ways a writer's room can go. But Sharon, do you guys over there think we're like babies because we can't do it alone? Is that
No, not really. I mean, we're the babies because we make, 6.5 hours, or, I still can't get my brain around. I know this is
22 episodes. Yeah.
I mean, that just seems like
yeah.
insanity,
the middle can be
but,
bad. That's how you can get your brain around it.
Rob and I could do it, just the two of us, because there was only 6. So I've just done well, not just done, but last year, 10 hours, and I mean, that would have taken way too long. And
how big was your
really
room
good.
for how big was your room for Bad Sisters?
Yeah, I think it was about 8 or so. Not everyone writing a script, in the end, but yeah, about that. This time around we're much smaller. There's about 5 of us, I think. But great script supervisor, great producer in the room. It's all that really helps too.
And Al, how's the collaboration process versus writing solo?
I think we found the trick. I learned this from Tom Lennon, my friend, who also plays the accordion salesman in the movie. But he and his partner Robert Ben Garant wrote a screenwriting book, and there's just a 2-page chapter on how to write with a partner. And I thought it was amazing advice, because I'm used to writing on my own, and I don't like somebody looking over my shoulder while I'm writing. My first feature film that I wrote was in the 80s, and I wrote that with my manager. And it was the two of us sitting in a room for 6 months, and it was just not a very comfortable or fun experience. But the trick was, from Tom and Ben, is that you write the outline together. And we did that, and we kind of refined the outline as we were going around town pitching the movie. So we had the basic beats of the whole movie figured out, and then we just divided it up. We literally took the outline and divided it into 22 chunks. And I would write the first one, he'd write the next one, and we'd do every other one. So I'd send him a chunk, I'd email it to him, and he'd punch it up and send me the next one, and then I'd punch up his, and we'd do that, and we got to basically write together, but on our own. It was very comfortable, and by the time we finished the first draft of the script, it had already been rewritten like 22 times. So that was a fun and very doable way of working with a partner for me.
When I was doing the first season of Catastrophe with Rob was in the States, and I was in London, and we just had this sort of rolling sort of sweatshop of, like, we were just constantly, he would wake up and I would have written 3 scenes, and then I would wake up and he'd have written the next bit. It was amazing. We got it done so fast.
Yeah.
But then we finally got together and read it, and it was not great. And then we were in the room sort of rewriting it, because it's all the rewriting, isn't it? Rewriting it together that it got to place. But gosh,
I was gonna say, is that the key? You have a writer in every time zone, so it's always happening.
Yeah. I just had the experience that I had never done this before, but it really worked. And maybe it was just because each person you work with is different, and that process is different. But I just had this experience doing a feature, and we would meet twice a week for no more than like 3 hours, and it was the same days and the same times. And we outlined the script together. And we never worked separately. We only worked in these windows, and we outlined and boarded it on Miro, and we were doing it on Zoom. And then we went into final draft collab mode, and we would basically talk about what we were going to write. So you're going to write that, and we talk about that, and I write this, we talk about that. And then we would go off and just write the scenes, and then whoever finished first would read the other person. And then, we would just it was all real time. And it was the most seamless process I'd ever gone through, because you didn't have that time to get married to anything. You were just like real time shutting down somebody else's thing. Like for them waiting, a day, and be like, oh, yeah, I love that. Why are you just shut it down right there, or they shut you down or whatever. And that worked well. So I don't know. I don't know if it'll work with someone else, but it worked well this last time.
Well, I want to congratulate all of you on your Writers Guild nominations, and congratulations on all the work you do. It's always a pleasure to talk to people who are making such a wide variety of work as you're all doing, and it's been a pleasure.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you
Nice
so
to
much.
meet you all.
Really
Thank
fun.
you.